One will offer you kingdoms. One will offer you victory in every battle. One will offer you the most beautiful woman in the world. You can only choose one, and your choice will kill thousands. If you're ready for the story of how vanity started a war, hit subscribe and comment. What would you choose? Power, glory, or love? It began, as so many tragedies do, at a wedding. Peleus, a mortal hero of considerable fame, was marrying Thetis, a sea nymph of extraordinary beauty and power. It should have been impossible. Mortals didn't marry nymphs, didn't court the daughters of ancient sea gods. But Peleus had won her through a combination of courage, persistence, and prophecy. The fates themselves had decreed this union would produce a son greater than his father, a hero whose name would echo through eternity. Every god on Olympus received an invitation, Zeus and Hera naturally. Poseidon, god of the seas, came to honor one of his ocean-born children. Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Ares, Aphrodite, all the Olympians descended from their golden halls to witness this unprecedented marriage. The celebration was magnificent. Wine flowed like rivers. Ambrosia was served on golden platters. The music of divine lyres filled the air with melodies that made mortals weep with joy. It was perfect, almost, because there was one goddess who had not been invited, Eris, the goddess of discord, strife, chaos. Her very presence soured celebrations, turned friends into enemies, planted seeds of suspicion and rage wherever she walked. She was the divine embodiment of conflict, and no one wanted that energy at a wedding. So the hosts made a calculated decision. They didn't invite her. It was, in retrospect, the worst mistake they could have made. Eris arrived anyway, not to the main hall where the celebration raged, but to the doorway, standing in shadow, watching the gods laugh and feast and congratulate themselves on their perfect gathering. Her face showed no anger, no rage, just a cold, patient smile. From within her robes, she produced a golden apple. Not just any fruit. This one gleamed with otherworldly light, its surface inscribed with a single word in ancient Greek, Kallist, to the fairest one. With perfect aim and deliberate malice, she rolled the apple into the center of the celebration. It came to rest at the feet of the gathered gods, gleaming and innocent and absolutely poisonous. For a moment, no one moved. They all recognized what it was. A trap, a provocation, discord made manifest in golden fruit. But three goddesses, despite knowing better, despite understanding the danger, couldn't help themselves. Hera, queen of the gods, reached for it first. Obviously, this belongs to me. I am the queen of Olympus. Athena's hand closed over it at the same moment. Beauty without wisdom is worthless. The fairest must also be the wisest. That's me. Aphrodite laughed, a sound like silk and honey and barely concealed triumph. How precious! The goddess of beauty stands before you, and you think the apple belongs to anyone else. Three goddesses, three claims, one apple. And Eris, watching from the shadows, smiled wider as she faded back into darkness. Her work was done. The rest would unfold exactly as she'd planned. The argument escalated immediately. Three goddesses, each absolutely certain of her superiority, each unwilling to concede even the possibility that another might surpass her. The wedding celebration ground to a halt as the dispute consumed everything. The other gods wisely stepped back. This was not a conflict anyone wanted to be part of. Choosing between these three meant making enemies of the other two, and none of them, not even the mightiest, wanted that burden. Zeus, who prided himself on wisdom and authority, was approached by all three. Surely the king of the gods could settle this. Surely he could determine which goddess deserved the apple. Zeus took one look at his wife Hera, his daughter Athena, and Aphrodite, remembering perhaps his own complicated history with the goddess of love, and made the wisest decision of his immortal life. "I cannot judge this," he said firmly. "Any choice I make would be seen as biased. We need an impartial observer, a mortal untainted by divine politics." Hera's eyes narrowed dangerously, but even she couldn't argue with the logic. Athena nodded reluctantly. Aphrodite simply smiled, already calculating her next move. Hermes, the messenger god, was given an assignment. Find a mortal beautiful enough to appreciate divine beauty, wise enough to make a fair judgment, but isolated enough that the choice wouldn't be influenced by political alliances or personal gain. His search led him to Mount Ida, near the great city of Troy, where he found a young man tending sheep in the high mountain pastures. Paris. He was extraordinarily handsome, golden-haired, fine-featured, with the kind of beauty that made both men and women pause and stare. But there was something else about him, something Hermes noticed immediately. He carried himself with an unconscious grace that suggested noble blood, even in shepherd's clothing, because Paris had a secret, though he didn't know Hermes knew it. He wasn't really a shepherd. He was a prince of Troy, son of King Priam and Queen Hecuba, abandoned as an infant because of a prophecy that he would bring destruction to his city. The prophecy had been specific and terrifying. This child would be the firebrand that burns Troy to ashes. His parents, desperate to save their kingdom, had ordered him left on the mountainside to die. But Paris had survived, raised by shepherds, growing to manhood completely unaware of his royal heritage. He lived a simple life, tending flocks, playing his lyre, occasionally joining other shepherds for festivals in the valleys below. He knew nothing of politics, nothing of divine machinations, nothing of the weight his next decision would carry. Perfect. Paris of Troy. Hermes appeared before him in a flash of divine light, his winged sandals still humming with speed. "You have been chosen for a great honor. Zeus, king of the gods, requires your judgment in a matter of divine importance." Paris, who had been sitting on a rock composing a simple melody, dropped his lyre in shock. "Me? But I'm just a—" "You are exactly what we need," Hermes interrupted. "3 goddesses claim the title of fairest. You will decide which of them deserves it." Before Paris could protest, before he could explain that he was completely unqualified for such a task, the air shimmered and 3 divine presences materialized before him. Hera, queen of Olympus, radiating regal power that made the very air bend around her. Athena, goddess of wisdom and war, her gray eyes sharp enough to cut through stone. And Aphrodite, embodiment of desire itself, whose mere presence made Paris's heart forget how to beat properly. They stood before him, these 3 immortal beings of impossible beauty and terrible power, waiting for a shepherd boy to tell them which of them was the most beautiful. Paris opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came. "Well?" Hera's voice carried the weight of divine authority. "We're waiting." And Paris, standing on a mountain that would one day see his city burn, had absolutely no idea that he was about to make the worst decision in human history. The gods watched from afar as Paris tried not to faint under the combined gaze of 3 immortals. His throat was dry, his hands trembling, yet his fate, and that of all Troy, balanced on his answer. Hera stepped forward first. Her voice was calm, controlled, the tone of a queen who had ruled for eons. "Mortal boy," she said, "you hold in your hand the power to change your destiny. Choose me, and I will make you the ruler of all men. I will give you a throne so mighty that kings will bow before your feet. The world itself will obey you." Power. The word shimmered in the air like a crown forged from lightning. Hera's eyes glittered with cold ambition. The offer promised safety, authority, a life above struggle. But it also carried a weight Paris could feel even in her serenity, a need to dominate, to control. He bowed slightly, out of respect, but said nothing. Athena approached next, her steps deliberate, her gray eyes unreadable. "Power without wisdom destroys itself," she said. "Choose me, Paris of Troy, and I will make you invincible in war and cunning in peace. You will command armies that never lose. You will understand strategy itself, see through deception, outthink every enemy. Glory, victory, the immortal fame only heroes could dream of." Paris imagined songs sung about his name, statues carved in his honor, yet something about Athena's gaze unsettled him. Her gifts demanded discipline, intellect, sacrifice, all things his gentle nature lacked. She would make him formidable, yes, but at what cost? Then Aphrodite laughed softly, drifting toward him like dawn light over silk. The scent of roses surrounded her. Her smile made the wind forget how to move. "My dear Paris," she whispered, "you are neither politician nor warrior. You are a creature of the heart. Choose me, and I will give you the most beautiful woman in the world to love. And she will love you in return. Perfect, eternal love beyond fear or reason." Paris's heart stuttered. The other offers had appealed to ambition and intellect. This struck something deeper, the simplicity of longing. At that moment, shepherd, prince, man, it didn't matter. He wanted love. He wanted beauty he could hold, not abstract power or bloody glory. "Who is she?" he asked quietly. Aphrodite's smile deepened. "Her name is Helen of Sparta. Mortal, yes, but no goddess rivals her face. She is born of Zeus and Leda, the moon's child made flesh. The world worships her already. She will be yours." Athena's expression darkened. Hera's lips tightened. Paris hesitated only a moment longer. The apple gleamed in his palm. Then he turned and handed it to Aphrodite. "Then the fairest," he said, "is love." For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then Hera's fury rippled the air. Athena's armor shivered with rage restrained only by divine decorum. Aphrodite winked at Paris, her prize secured. "Remember your promise," she whispered, "and prepare for eternity." Lightning split the sky as the gods vanished. Paris sank to his knees, heart pounding, unaware that his simple choice had just doomed his city. Days later, Aphrodite appeared again, softer now, radiant and human-shaped, walking beside Paris in the pastures near Troy. "It is time," she said simply. Transported by her will, Paris sailed across the Aegean to Sparta. There, among marble halls and olive gardens, he found Helen, the wife of King Menelaus. She was everything Aphrodite had promised, beauty so pure it seemed to stop the world. Her voice calmed storms, her eyes reflected both kindness and fire. When she looked at him, Paris understood why gods went mad for love. Aphrodite wove desire like a cloak around them. Helen forgot her duty, her vows, her crown. One night, under the shimmering constellations of the Greek sky, she followed Paris to his ship. No force on earth could have stopped them. When dawn rose, Sparta awoke to find its queen gone. Menelaus's fury spread faster than wildfire. His pride wounded, his honor shattered, He swore vengeance, but he alone could not reclaim her. He called upon a promise, an oath made years before by every Greek chieftain who had once courted Helen. They had sworn, all of them, to protect the chosen husband of Helen from any wrong done to him in love. And now that oath would drag them all into bloodshed. Menelaus invoked the pact. Agamemnon, his brother, and the high king of Mycenae answered. Odysseus, Achilles, Ajax, even the cunning Nestor, all bound by oath and pride, gathered fleets under the Greek banner. 1,000 ships were built, 1,000 sails filled with wind. Their destination, Troy. And Paris, standing beside Helen on the city's walls, saw their white sails on the horizon like the ghosts of his own choices returning to claim him. The Greek alliance was a storm made of men. Across the sea they came, driven by rage, by oaths, by the whims of gods who laughed at mortals killing for principles they themselves betrayed. Hera and Athena stood beside the Greeks, still furious at Paris's insult. Aphrodite protected Troy, if only to shield her chosen lover and his stolen bride. Trojans celebrated the beauty Helen brought. At first, the city glowed with love and revelry, convinced they were favored by the goddess of desire herself. But Priam, old and wise, saw the coming ruin. A single apple, he murmured to his son Hector, and the world burns. The fleet arrived. Envoys were sent, ignored. Demands for Helen's return met with defiance. Honor chained both sides to destiny, and above it all Eris watched, amused. And that's where the story pauses. The choice has been made, the ships are sailing, and the world stands on the edge of its bloodiest legend. What follows will not be a battle, but a decade of gods and men tearing each other apart. Achilles, whose rage will define heroism. Agamemnon, whose ambition will poison loyalty. Odysseus, whose cunning will outlast them all. All because one young prince reached for beauty and forgot that every gift from a god comes with a price. The next chapter is not about romance anymore. It's about vengeance, destiny, and the unstoppable collapse of the greatest city ever built. When Troy burns, even Olympus will feel the heat. So, if you want to see how every promise made tonight turns to ash, how glory, grief, and prophecy weave into one epic of destruction, stay with us. Hit like if you believe no love is worth a war. Subscribe so you don't miss the next legend, the Trojan War, where every death begins with an apple. And tell us in the comments, if you were Paris, what would you have chosen? Power, glory, or love?